Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Venkat, we can hear you. Thank you.
I had some technical difficulties. My apologies for everyone. Looks like we have 4 guests here.
Yes, we do.
All right. Thanks again. My apologies for being late. So let me go ahead and without further ado, let me share the presentation. And we'll go from there. Let me see, Monica, if you guys can see my screen here.
Sure.
Can you see?
Not as yet.
I think let's start. Okay, there's a recording going on, but let me share here screen. How is this?
It's still loading. While it's loading, I just wanted to, here we go. Yes. We can all see that now. I just wanted to let you know that I'm Monica Kamran, the director at Luminous Pathways. And as an organization, we have many programs for children with different needs. We have mindfulness and meditation. We have physical fitness, social and cognitive development programs, and assistive technology. We partner with different experts so that we can get different resources and modalities and techniques that are available out there for the children's benefit and resourceful for the parents as well. So today, Venkat would be sharing what assistive technology can do for our children and how it can help make them safe and more independent. So over to you, Venkat.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, Monica. And again, my apologies to everyone for with the technical difficulties. I was late for a couple of minutes. Hopefully, we'll make this session more informative. I originally planned to do this Vasu, and Vasu is also on the call. He's a friend and also he's a colleague in terms of special need children. And so this presentation for the rest of the half hour or so, I will be doing it myself. And hopefully we both will get to do some other session in near future. So a little bit of introduction to myself. I treat myself primarily as a parent of special needs with disabilities. And I got interested in this subject after finding Yash, my son, having difficulty in a range of skills, range of disabilities. And I enrolled into a course called Assistive Technologies for Disabilities. It's in California State Universities. And it was about an 18-month program. Given the fact that I have an IT background, I'm an IT consultant, and it was a very interesting, very passionate. Later on, it became a passion subject for me. That's how I got introduced to assistive technology. And I'm also, as a parent, come across a lot of assistive technology in school district. My son was in public school for some time, and then he's going to private school. And I try to find opportunities to use assistive technology for my son. So let's just go a little bit of, I have about 10 or 15 slides. I want to know I want to just share what I know as a parent, as someone who is closer to the technology. And I hope that we'll take something away from this and use it for our wherever we are, for our kids or whoever we are working with who have disabilities. Assistive technology has been there for quite some time, and it has really exploded in the last few years. When it comes to the special needs, you have disabilities in a range of areas. You have independent living, safety, cognitive disabilities, and some are having physical and also vision, hearing. The disabilities can be any. And there is a technology, believe it or not, there is a technology for every one of those disabilities. And when I thought first the technology was, I was thinking about high tech. It's never be the case. So when it comes to the technology, technology can be really low tech, and non-electronic, and that are very, very effective, to the high tech, all the modern technologies that we see, artificial intelligence, and all the virtual reality, augmented reality. That's the cutting edge to the low tech. Sometimes it's surprising to find that low technology is really what is needed for some situations. So the next slide, selecting the appropriate assistive technology. So when in current times, when we think of technology, we always tend to think high tech. Always would go for iPad or virtual reality, augmented reality based headsets and things like that. But in fact, I found during the courses there are a range of technologies, and there are companies that are producing these technologies. There is a lot of information available in school districts. We have to, when we search these technologies based on the disability, you will find a lot of options, not just the high tech, even low tech options, but will be very effective. So in my experience in working with assistive technology lately, the technology that the school districts use, I think that's the best place to start. And the funding also becomes easy when it comes to technology when we go through the school districts, especially if the kid is in school, and if that is needed for the education, it's a lot easier to get the technology through the school district. So when I would always approach wherever our kids are, or wherever even in the cases of seniors, if we have any seniors who are there in senior centers, there are public funding sources through the school districts or through the public health agencies, community centers, funding options available. Plus, they're also available based on the disability. So selecting the appropriate assistive technology is the key, and also finding the funding source is key. And there are a lot of public sources available for funding. And this is continuing on the funding. So there will be professional also available for funding. With parents, before families spend money, I would encourage going through the public funding sources. And as parents, as caregivers or family members, we always can buy technology from outside, but I would encourage going through the funding sources, public funding sources first. Take full advantage of that before investing on technologies. Scope, especially when it comes to the kids, so they who are in the educational setting, there are a whole lot of options available. I just listed 5 or 6 of these. There are adaptive toys. Regular kids will play with the regular toys, but the special need kids need a specialized toys. There are some switches. These are semi-electronic switches that they can use, and they can be simple games. And then there are quite a lot of environmental controls. That's a technology that we may need at home. Some of the kids who are very sensitive to the lights and sounds, they need this. Maybe a special incandescent bulbs, and the bulbs that that have a soothing impact to their eye, or if they need some sort of noise elimination, there are some devices that can constantly they eliminate the noises that they don't like, and have some sort of background um, soothing sound running all the time. And the augmentative alternative communication, this is for kids who need assistance with speeches. And of course, the alternative learning strategies, and there are quite a few software programs. And then the computer access, if kids are cognitive, we have the enough cognitive skills that they want to go onto the computer, being able to use the computer keyboard to go into the websites, there are technologies available. So these are some of the things that I wanted to put out there. So technologies are available and they are easily accessible, and there are experts in the companies, and there's a whole lot of literature is available, and the assistance is available through the school districts, through the community centers, through nonprofits, and some of these things can be even borrowed. Before you can actually, if you want to buy, before buying, you can even borrow them. And just in the last week, I asked school district to provide me the computer loaded with certain technologies after spending some time. And I also asked a consultation with the assistive technology specialist in the school district, because there is all public schools have assistive technology specialists. In fact, they have a contracted with the specialists. And if we need to check things out as to what's the latest, there may be some technology available, greatest technology available in the marketplace, and that's still not prime for use. And some of these technologies are the ones that school districts test, community centers will test, so the nonprofits will test. So these guys who are these assistive technology departments in school districts, in public agencies, will have all that information. And they even we can even ask for trial, and if we can make a case, it's going to help kids in school setting, they will be able to provide that to us. Next, the assistive technology for autism. This is a subject which is close to my heart, and autism, they have a range of technologies available, and the ones that are specifically focused on for most parents with autism is, these are the three areas: difficulty with social interaction, communication, and rigidity of thought, or obsessive compulsive disorder, if they have. So there are the technologies, there are programs, that games that they can use to get them to train on those skills, social interaction skill. And also, if they have a difficulty in communicating, if they won't be able to communicate with long sentences, there is a different kind of communication that they can learn. It's an iPad. Just put the program out there. They can you can lock the program for 15 minutes. They don't have anywhere else to go but to play with that the communication program. That are interesting programs with the characters, all these cartoon characters available, so that they can use a simple 1-word, 2-word communication, that they can play with this. And then and also the rigidity of thought. So there are some games that actually will address this issue, where they tend to put things in a particular place, and they builds the tolerance. Again, these are all the iPad and Android programs, where spilling the water, or just the cup is upside down, they won't like it. If something is flat on the surface, instead of standing upright, they won't like it. those are, and there's somebody, kids may want to close the door all the time. And so these are the things that some of these programs will help them practice. So it's the building the tolerance. And number 3. So all these 3 will have, they have different programs, and they are available on Android device, they are available on iOS device, they're also available on PCs and MacBooks. I want to stop at this point of time. I have a few more slides to go. Monica, just a logistics perspective, I would like to say if anyone has any questions, they can type in those questions in the interactive chat window. And it doesn't have to be one way. I would like this to be interactive if I can make it. Do we have anybody asking questions or raising hands?
Not as yet, but I have a question, Venkat, for you. So all these technologies are available for children of all ages?
Yes, not only for all ages. Yeah, not only for children's, even for adults. And the assistive technology is used. Thanks. That's a very good question. Thanks for asking this. When it comes to the technology, its technologies are to address the disability and the gap between a typical individual and an individual with disability. That individual can be kid, it can be an adult, an infant, or it can be an older person. So the technologies are being used even in people with the older population, senior citizens needing help, to people who have gone through accidents, traumatic brain injuries. I mean, they are also some sort of disability. So all of these technologies are available for everyone, not just for kids.
So we have another question. Are these technologies available, and would you be talking a little about technologies for visually disabled children?
Yes, there are technologies for visually disabled children, and in this particular presentation, I haven't prepared material. I am planning to do series of sessions, one dedicated to hearing disability, visual impairment, and mobility. I will be doing that. Yes, to answer the question, Monica, there are specific technologies available for visually handicapped.
Thanks, Venkat. Thank you.
You're welcome. And in the communication, and verbal and even non-verbal, and you will be amazed to see how much these iPad programs, this is called ACs, these how much advanced they are. They have simple devices like iPhone and iPad, and they can they have a bunch of buttons that they can operate and communicate. And it's wonderful to see how much they are helping, especially a non-verbal population, disabled population. So especially for my son Yash, on the number 1 on social interaction, he never likes to go out. He doesn't want to play with anyone. But he started liking the Buzz Lightyear and Woody videos. He would go, there is a room, and some of these pictures are even 3-dimensional. And when you give the iPad, with an iPad, we can also lock the iPad because they have a low attention span, and they tend to go and click on YouTube. You can give the iPad, and iPad can be locked for the duration of 10-15 minutes. He has nowhere to go. Plus, he has the interesting cartoon character based, the four characters sitting there in the room. They're chit-chatting. They're asking questions, and Yash has to respond in one word. And it's interesting for them. He can be there in that kind of program for 10-15 minutes. at a time, and sometimes giggling, that's interacting them. I mean, it's so wonderful to see how some of these technologies can help these kids. And I particularly am number one, number three is what I am planning to use more and more for Yash, so Yash can overcome some of his disabilities and build skills in those two areas. So when it comes to the computers and autism, this is the goal. These are all the areas where we can use computers for kids with autism, especially. We can increase in focus and attention span can be increased, and then for them being able to sit in one place, and also the fine motor skills. There are programs where there are programs where they'll be forced to interact with the fingers, and that's to improve the fine motor skills. If they try to do the fat fingers, they won't be able to get the points. So they really have to use with the finger, not just with the finger. And there are certain programs where the program will speak and tell that you have to pick a pencil, you have to use a fine pointer to be able to interact with the games, to be able to earn points. Because there are programs where that not only does there's a program where the program is intended for developing skills, and also there's a reward system built into that. They know that at the end of 15 minutes, it says, Yash, you earned a snack. You go ask mom and dad your snack. You did a good job. So it keeps speaking like that, and then they know that it keeps reminding them that, hey, you have 5 more minutes to go before you get your snack. And each one of those 5, the first 4 of those things, there is a audio reminders, and there is a clock running, and they're also practicing skill at the same time, and they're going to get rewarded at the end of that. And depending on how the kid his attention span is, whether it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you can set all of that ahead of time in iPad. And there are programs available both on iOS platform and Android and on PC. So increasing the generalization skill. So there you can actually, the programs are, you can adapt customize the program where you can throw in a couple of things to generalize. So what I do is, in one of these programs, I throw in a couple of things, like right after this, go and water the plants in the backyard, and then you're going to get your ice cream. It's summer. So he knows that around between 4 and 6 o'clock, if he finishes his one of the computer program, and then he comes out and asks for going to water the plant, he's not going to get ice cream unless he waters the plant. So that is the generalizing, taking the skills out of the computer into the real world, sending him in the backyard, and he may have attention span just to do watering only for 3 or 4 plants, but he does that. So you have that's how I am using, at least in some of these programs. And also the decreasing agitation. Now Yash does this. What I am sometimes I do these breaks. Yash is Monica, after attending your sessions, doing this breathing exercises that you teach, some of this, I do give breaks in between those programs. I customize them, introduce 10 times breathing and shoulder exercise that you tell Yash. I make him do that. And during the during this during the course of these sessions, he definitely will have self-stimulating behavior. He won't be talking because he's focused on working these. So all of this again is available, and they're there. You don't have to go. We don't have to go and license them outside. If we could, if we can, if you want to. But again, these are the things that I would recommend going through the public agencies. If it's he's in school district, go and ask for them. So what kind of assistive technology related software tools and programs are available in the school district? As long as kid is in the school district, they'll give you a license for that program, so you don't have to buy. Some of these, if you want to buy, they range anywhere between $5.99. A lot of them are on subscription basis. There are some which $2.99. Some are there $5.99. And or if you are using this, if 10 programs, that's about $100 of worth of technology per month. And if you multiply that on a yearly basis, it's going to be about 1,200. You will be spending technology. All of that 1,200, much of that you will be able to get from the school district. Monica, at this point, I want to check with you one time to see if anybody has any other questions.
Not right now, Venkat.
All right. So what I would like to do is wrap up this for about 35 minutes and then leave. I plan to leave 10 minutes for questions. I think it's overall, it's a 45-minute session, Monica?
Yes.
Okay. So the virtual environment, this is the one I haven't tried. I'm going to try this. This is where I am planning to use Yash, augmented reality, virtual reality, and augmented reality hybrid. But given Yash tendency to throw the headset, I'm trying to first of all address these behaviors before I'm going to use this. This is where kids can be taken to. Yash is scared of pets. My goal at some point this year is to use augmented reality, virtual reality, take him to the virtual room where he can play with things that he has a phobia for, particularly the dogs, the pets, dogs, cats. He's frightened. Babies, he's frightened. These noises, these high-pitched noises, he's really scared. Those are the three things that I would like Yash to practice in a virtual environment before he actually comes and practices in real world. And now so far a couple of times I tried with that. Those dogs barking, kids screaming, he tend to change the screens, and he wants to get out of that place. So I'm going to eventually get him and do this one. And this is again a great place. Imagine a situation where you have to create that kind of environment in real world. You need to actually get a dog. That has to be a service dog, somebody trained with the dog, or you have to. It's physically moving things around in physical world. Either you have to drive him to some place, or the person who has the dog has to come to your place and do that kind of training. That's a very, very expensive training, and all of this can be achieved in the virtual environment. So that's the great thing about this. And then when he's comfortable in virtual environment, and transition him to the real world. So that's it pretty much. I think I was able to wrap this up. I came to date 2 minutes late, and then I was able to wrap this up in about 30 minutes, Monica. And I just want to leave last 12 minutes or so for questions.
So I just wanted to ask you, Venkat, so for any more detailed or specific details, can somebody get in touch with you? They can always email us at the lumipathways@gmail.com email, right?
Yes, absolutely. Lumi Pathways, if you know any questions that anybody has, and we have you're planning to give a complimentary sessions to some of them. So we will be happy to provide those sessions and help anybody who needs immediately.
Would you also be available for just consultation? If anybody
Yeah.
just, okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So does anybody else have any questions? I think this was a very informative presentation, Venkat. I really want you to thank you for that. I think an eye-opener. Many of the parents out there are not very familiar about these resources and how they can actually get access to these resources. So I think this was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm glad I'm able to do that. In even being in information technology IT field, I wasn't knowing a lot of these things until I got into I took more interest in the subject. We only tend to see what comes on the advertisement and the latest when we all think when it comes to technology, high tech things that we see in the ads, on the TV, and also I always used to think the only way I could get hold of the technology is spending money myself. I never thought there are so many funding sources are available, public sources are available. I never knew that, and that's the information that I would like. I would like to continue to run some of these sessions. This is a very generic one that I did. What I would like to do is do a dedicated session on certain areas, on visually impaired, hearing impairment, mobility, and social and emotional skills, and the safety. So there are a whole lot of things that environmental control, whole range of areas that we can do. And each subject by itself is a webinar of a half hour with 15 minutes questions if we can do. And I would like to do that. And it's going to help, at least I didn't know this, and I wish I knew this about 10 years ago when I was struggling with Yash. In spite of being IT, if I didn't know, it's a very likely lot of parents who are not in IT, who are not paying attention to these things, they will not likely to know. Once they know they can get a lot of help for their kids or their loved ones, whether they are their own family or in an extended family or anywhere else they want to help.
Well, thank you, Venkat. I think we can, it's a wrap now. We have somebody saying that, like you mentioned, they're interested in a webinar for technology for visually impaired or disabled children. So we look forward to that as well, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to dedicate. I will have these. Yeah, next, if you want to plan next session, we can plan on that specifically, and I can bring with some real specific information that can be used immediately. For them, including the funding sources, and I can gather some information and bring it to the webinar.
Perfect. I will be sending an email out